Welcome back to another in our series of the parables of Jesus. Our parable today comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 11, verses 29 through 32, known as the parable of the sign of Jonah. When the crowds were increasing, he began to say, "This generation is an evil generation. It seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. For as Jonah became a sign to the people of Nineveh, so will the Son of Man be to this generation. The queen of the south will rise up at the judgment with the men of this generation and condemn them. For she came from the ends of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, something greater than Solomon is here. The men of Nineveh will rise up at the judgment with this generation to condemn it. For they repented at the preaching of Jonah. And behold, something greater than Jonah is here." A man who worked for the Treasury Department was known to be able to spot a forgery with uncanny ability every single time. Someone remarked to him that he must spend an awful lot of time examining fake money. He replied, "No, I only look at real money. I've trained my eye to know exactly what a real dollar bill looks like, no matter what the denomination." He further noted that he would constantly practice putting counterfeits in a stack to test himself. When you know what the real item looks like and trained your eye to know what it is you're looking for, then you will easily recognize a fake. In Jesus' parable today, he rebukes the Jews of that day for their unbelief. He uses two perfect examples to demonstrate that unbelief. If you are even the most casual of students of the Bible, you recognize the two examples that Jesus gives. The queen of the south, of course, is Sheba, who came, by the most conservative estimates, at least 1,000 miles, if not 1,400 miles, to search and witness the wisdom and wealth of Solomon. By jet, it's a 4-hour trip. By car, 2 days if you drive hard. By camel, months. Months just to see the wisdom of someone. 1 Kings chapter 10, verses 6 through 7 tells us, "And she said to the king, 'The report was true that I heard in my own land of your words and of your wisdom. But I did not believe the reports until I came and my own eyes had seen it. Behold, the half was not told to me. Your wisdom and prosperity surpass the report that I heard.' Because she heard of Solomon's wisdom." Then we have the people of Nineveh who repented after hearing a one-sentence sermon from Jonah. "Yet 40 days and Nineveh shall be overthrown." We read about their remarkable decision in Jonah chapter 3 and verse 5. "And the people of Nineveh believed God. They called for a fast and put on sackcloth, from the greatest of them to the least of them." But why would they believe an 8-word sermon? There must be more to it than that. A mere man, a stranger in a strange land, and yet his preaching changes their hearts. Had the word of his extraordinary experience preceded him to Nineveh? Whatever it was, Jesus uses this well-known story from the Old Testament as a proof against them. Someone greater than Jonah and Solomon. The greatest preacher and the wisest man that lived. And now someone greater has appeared. Yet all they wanted was one more supernatural indication, one more miracle, one more wonder, and that would be enough. But would it be enough? Did they have enough knowledge to recognize the genuine one that Israel had waited centuries for? The very fact that they needed one more is proof they didn't. Of all the challenges, so to speak, that Jesus faced in healing the blind, the deaf, the lame, the demon-possessed, even the dead, there was one class of people he simply could not heal: the hard-hearted. While this account doesn't neatly fit into the definition of parables, it nonetheless gives a story that the hearers must wrestle with to find truth. What did he mean 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth? Like other parables, the listener is left with either the desire to further understand what the meaning is that lies behind the story, or they will simply give up and move on. Therein lies the dividing line, here and for all other parables. Jesus must have made an impact with this parable, for after his crucifixion, we find this account in Matthew chapter 27, verses 62 through 64. The next day, that is, after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember how that impostor said, while he was still alive, 'After 3 days I will rise.' Therefore, order the tomb to be made secure until the third day, lest his disciples go and steal him away and tell the people, 'He has risen from the dead,' and the last fraud will be worse than the first." Nothing was going to change their minds. Jesus prophetically announced this in his parable of Lazarus and the rich man in Luke 16:31. He said to him, "If they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be convinced if someone should rise from the dead." I wonder if we give enough credit to John when he wrote in John chapter 20, verses 30 and 31, "Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name." Do you know someone who will simply not be convinced that Jesus is the way? And Lord willing, let's meet here again tomorrow and look at another parable of Jesus.